A while ago I purchased my first multiplex RC airplane, so it was the Extra 300S. I think it was a really enjoyable RC airplane to fly and to assemble, and overall I just really wanted to try another multiplex RC airplane. So just recently they released this Pacer PA-20. It's a high wing, really lightweight RC airplane at the 1150 millimeter wingspan. So let's start putting this one together and see if everything works as it should. First step is to install the rudder and elevator piece. These just go together and then you put them in kind of a slot, and from the other side you have this plastic screw just to secure these parts. Then I'm not sure if plastic is the right choice, but of course it does save a little bit on the weight side. So just don't over tighten it, just make it fit really good. Next thing then is to slide in the tail wheel. It's held by just the pressure, and then you also have one screw to secure this piece. So just make sure that you don't over tighten it. So when you're about to just go the final tightening, just check so that the rudder is moving freely. Just when you think it's good, then just stop and let it be. Next thing then is the landing gears. It's held by 2 screws, so we certainly would like to have seen 3 or 4 screws. So hopefully this will work fine. Let's see. Next thing then is the wing, and you have a Y cable included for the aileron servos. So just put this in and slide the wing in, and then you have another 2 plastic screws just to secure the wing. So if plastic is a good choice, I don't know, but so far, I mean, they just bite really well. So let's hope that they don't break. Next thing then is the linkage for the control surfaces on the rear of the RC airplane. So just put these in and just hook it up to your receiver and center them, and then you're about just to tighten them down with the 1.5 millimeter hex driver. So just make sure they are really tight, so you don't want them to come loose in any way. Just to have a really tight fit then. And then it's time for the elevator piece. So a little bit fiddly just to get them in, but when you have them in, just tighten them and have the control surface just centered by connecting the servos to the receiver and have them kind of a neutral. Last step then is to mount the prop. So it's a 10 by 4.7 slow flying prop. The prop goes on, a washer, and then the kind of a plastic and metal prop nut. You screw it in and then use a screwdriver just to tighten it in this slot. And when you're done, tighten it just good enough without breaking the plastics. Just put on this kind of a foam spinner and you're done. The first thing that struck me when I got this plane together is how lightweight it is. It's a really lightweight, and especially then for 1150 millimeter wingspan plane. So I think that's a really good thing, and I like to fly lightweight RC airplanes. They are more nimble and you have a really light wing load, so if you go slow it usually doesn't drop the wing. And I would consider this to have a short wing but also a kind of thick wing cord. So even without flaps on this RC airplane, I would think that it would just fly fantastically great. So to put this together, you have kind of these plastic screws, no problems. And even the tail section then have a plastic screw to hold this elevator piece and rudder piece in place. So I mean, it doesn't take many minutes to get this one together. And you have landing gears also just pre-assembled with the kind of hard wheels also, but I think that this will work fine on grass. On harder surface I think it will bounce quite a lot. But it's just only 2 screws to hold the landing piece, so hopefully it will work, because I have some other RC airplanes I've tried which just only feature kind of a flat landing gear and 2 screws, and sometimes just if you have a bad landing it comes loose. So this is something to be seen. On the top patch then just opens like this, and inside a really good place for the battery. Have kind of a more open place here so you can push the battery more forward, but just having it kind of a just over here, it's all balanced. And you also get a Velcro piece then just to put the battery inside, and you also have a strap. Usually, if I can, I just remove the strap because I don't think it's needed if you have kind of a longer piece of Velcro on both the battery and also inside your RC airplane. Now this plane, it comes kind of a PNF configuration, so everything except the receiver is included. So I put in a Spektrum AR637T receiver in mine. And I also ripped the stock Multiplex 20 amp speed control because as far as I know, all the Multiplex RC airplane, they have kind of their own connector just for the battery. And it's just stupid in my opinion because every other RC airplane more or less have kind of an XT60, or in the case of E-flite RC airplanes then kind of EC3. So with this Avian 30 amp, then I have an IC3, and I also have telemetry, and I can do reverse thrust. So that's an improvement in my opinion. And of course you don't have to replace the speed controller, but I mean telemetry, reverse thrust, and kind of a standard connector which works with both XT60 and IC3 or EC3, then it's a much more versatile thing to have. One interesting design choice, which I'm really not too fond of, is this plane. It comes with a slow flying prop, so I'm not sure how agile this plane will be, so that's something to be seen during the flight. But it also comes with a foam spinner, so you can just pry this off, and they have this both metal and plastic prop nut thing, which I'm not really sure. I mean, plastic will break, and I can surely, if I disassemble this RC, I will put it together again and just secure this prop, then this is something that might break, and I think it looks kind of poor with a foam spinner. But if the design goal of this plane then is to have this one flying really lightweight, I can understand it, but kind of a poor decision, at least to me. Then another thing, I think that it's a really good choice of colors. If you just look at the fuse on the side then is red and the wing are white, because it's so much easier to orientate an RC airplane if you have different colors on the fuse and on the wing area. Because if you just flip this one upside down and you have a gray sky, and you have a white RC airplane, the plane will just disappear. So with this just all red then in the middle, it's just so easy to orientate, and that is something that is really important to me, at least, just to see your RC airplane, and you will enjoy them more. So also when you purchase this RC airplane, the aileron linkage then is already connected, but you have to do it for the rear section, and it's just held by a screw on the kind of a control horn. So I would just make really sure that this screw is secured every time you take this plane to fly, because if you lose elevator, just if the screw is loose or something, you will surely just crash this RC airplane. And then I have to mention one thing which really annoys me. Then you can see it just says Multiplex on the wing, and I can understand it from a kind of if you want to promote this RC airplane when it flies. But to me, if you have kind of a scaled RC airplane, just skip these brand stickers. It's just, it doesn't look good. And I mean, even, I think that E-flite does this to a certain extent, and FMS and also some other brands. I think it's just if you have the aim on making some sort of scale plane, just skip these large brand stickers. It just looks bad. Another good thing then, on the other hand, is that you have already CG marked underneath the wing with kind of a standard CG mark. So it's really good. And also when I just put a 3SM200 inside just on the kind of Velcro piece, it was all balanced. So my hopes for this RC airplane then is just to have a really enjoyable, easy flight, and hopefully also some agility. So let's go outside and get this Pacer flying. Time then to get this one up the third time. First time was really crazy wind. I just had to get it down and do made another day. So the second time then I just adjusted a few things. I adjusted the elevator just with a few clicks, and I also increased aileron authority just by 125%, but it still doesn't really roll as fast as I'd like, because I pushed full power, I pushed full aileron, and still a little bit of a sluggish behavior. I wouldn't say that this is sluggish in the way a plane like this is supposed to fly, but I almost always just increase aileron authority because I want to have a fast roll rate. And a fast roll rate also means that you can just get out of kind of a tough situations. So the worst thing then is just to run out of power or authority on any control surface. I think then slow flying, it works great. I mean, really doesn't bite you. Of course, there's just a slight breeze today, so not too difficult to fly any plane, but also you have to maneuver this tight place. And I see this as a really good practice. If I can handle kind of a 1.2, 1.3, well, like in this case then somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2 meter plane in this place, I think it would just perform really good in kind of a wider space also. So, I mean, when you push 100%, it surely is agile on the elevator. Doesn't really slow down as nice as I would have liked, so flaperons would really make this plane even better in my opinion. And as I have the wind then coming from my left side and I just took off right into the wind, I cannot do it when I'm about to land because I had line of trees, so I really have to go downwind, which is going to be interesting. Kind of the throttle response is really nice even with this slow flying prop, but I would like to have a little bit more bite, and that might also help me when just about to do faster rolls, but really no tendency to bite when I just go slow and turn. I could use a little bit more rudder authority just to have more flat turns, so it's something for the next round of flights then. Time to get this one down first time, just assessing speed and angle. And kick in braking or reverse thrust and just to stop the plane. So reverse thrust is a really good feature that I use more and more, even when I don't have floats then. So let's get it up one more time. You don't need much power or throttle, just takes off really easy. Still doesn't roll fast, so even just going full power and full ailerons, it doesn't really go fast. It's no problem just to control the plane. But this might not be the perfect kind of a high wing aerobatic RC plane then, so let's get it down once more. I mean, not too bad, a little bit of bouncing, and these landing gears, they are stiff, so I would expect it to bounce almost on any landing. So set the timer then for 5 minutes. Still no battery warning then from my speed controller, the Avian 1. So it's going to be interesting just to see the battery level then when I'm done. So let's get this one down then last time. Let's try to make it slow. It's a little bit kind of a difficult just to judge where I have kind of the stall speed, just because I don't want to go down on this location, and usually I just go lower and slower, but here I have to do tight turns. So let's get it down then and use reverse thrust to just to stop the plane. And then you can always run in reverse on the ground. It's a really interesting and fun thing to do. A little bit wonky looking, but still power of the reverse ESC then. So quite enjoyable flight from this Pacer. So finally then, a true maiden on this Multiplex PA-20 Pacer. So this day it was quite calm. I had just had like crazy weather during this month, so just not many flying days. But finally I could do a good flight. So when I was about to take off this plane, I had kind of a light breeze headwind, so it just took off really easy. But when I was about to land, I could only choose like one landing direction, just considering all the obstacles. So I had kind of a, with the wind landing, and I had to use reverse thrust just to stop the plane, which is a really good feature when you have these avian speed controllers or just another speed control that supports reverse thrust. It's a really good thing that when you learn to use it, it can actually save your RC airplanes or just make for really short landings where you can stop the RC airplane. And as you saw, you can even run this on the ground, just reverse, as long as it isn't really too uneven grass or something. I think it works just great. Also, the battery life on this RC airplane is fantastic because I had like a 3S 2200 milliamp battery, and I end up at about slightly above 50% power left on the battery after 5 minutes. So probably at least 7 minutes on this RC airplane if you fly like I fly. It's surely possible on a 2200, and that's a really good thing, I think. So I didn't really enjoy kind of the slow roll rate on this RC airplane, and I did increase the rate then to 125% for the ailerons, just to have this roll a little bit faster. But still, I think that there's just room for lots of improvements, so I will surely on the next round of flights then just adjust the linkage just to maximize the aileron throw. I also think that when you have kind of a lightweight RC airplane, you have stiff landing gears and stiff wheels, it will bounce like all the time. And even though I had kind of this artificial grass, which is softer than, for instance, just a hard surface, it just still bounces on every landing. So next time then, I might just try to do some super soft Dave Brown wheels on this RC airplane. And I would also really like to have seen some sort of spring system on this RC airplane. I think it would be looking really great. And just to provide for a nice smooth landing stand with this RC airplane. I think visibility was really great with this underside and all in red. As far as power goes, I don't think that you will be neither disappointed or too excited, because it flies more or less, like in the middle. It does feature this slow prop, so maybe if I would prop this different than with maybe a 10x5 kind of a sport flying prop, it would provide for a little bit more bite and just more agility. I don't know. That's something I will surely just experiment with. I also think that I didn't experience kind of any bad stall behaviors from this RC airplane, but I also didn't feel too confident going slower than I did. And certainly with a little bit of more rudder authority, I could have made more kind of a flat turn, so that is something I could adjust also. And speaking about just settings, I did run this one on a 3S 2200 milliamp battery, and I put the battery's front edge just all over in this location, and then it was balanced. I just had to make kind of a few clicks up elevator, and then it just flew level. And overall, just a really simple RC airplane to put together, simple plane just to swap the battery, to get up in the air. And if I would have a headwind, I think that landings would be really great, except then for the stiff landing gears that just would have made this one bounce. I think that it can be quite difficult unless you have kind of a really soft grass then to avoid bouncing on this RC airplane. So I mean, I certainly like this RC airplane, how it looks. I don't think it is too exciting as is when you purchase this. So the things I will do then, more aileron authority, soften up the landing gears, and then just some sort of prop modification to have a little bit more bite and speed and agility. So it would certainly just be interesting if this one could fly on 4S. That would really make it a speedy RC airplane. I also think that maybe I will split my ailerons then and just put them on 2 different channels on my receiver inside the plane, and do flaperons on this RC airplane, because in my experience, when you have flaperons and you were just on your final, just before you touch down, if you kick in flaperons, you would have a kind of a nice soft dampening of the landing. So that is something I will surely look into. But for now, I think it's a really easy built, lightweight RC airplane, great visibility. I think it looks great. And so far, I mean, it flies good. It's just that I want to have more agility and more fun with any RC airplane I purchase. So thanks for now, and just stay tuned and catch you in the next one.